On episode 715 of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we meet Justin Hai and discuss his book, Stress Nation: Escape the Technology Trap, Eliminate Stress, and Reclaim Rest. Welcome to the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, the largest and longest running health and fitness podcast dedicated to people over 40. Whether you're looking to lose weight, get stronger, or improve your health and age better, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Coach Allan, an online health and fitness coach and author of The Wellness Roadmap. Each week, we dive into practical tips, expert advice, and inspiring stories to help you take control of your health and fitness. If you're ready to look, feel, and perform your best, no matter your age, this podcast is the perfect place to start. Let's get you on the path to a healthier, fitter, and more energetic version of yourself. I hope you'll join us each week, and together we can unlock your full potential. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast. I am so glad you're here. I'm Coach Allan. If you haven't met me before, really glad that you're here for this episode. Stress management is something that's very important to me, something I work on all the time. Probably the most important thing right now relative to everything else that I do, but stress is a big deal. So I have to say, temperatures here in North Carolina have officially dropped below 45 degrees Fahrenheit. And it feels like it's time for this goose to fly south anyway. I just don't like the cold. I've got about another month here, it looks like. Then I am going to go home for at least about a month and a half, I think. Well, that is unless there's an offer on the house, which, who makes an offer for a house between Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? So I expect that I'm going to go back down to Panama for a month or so and get away from this cold. Of course, then I have to come back right into the heart of it, but that's okay. We're going to get this house sold, right? All right. But how are you doing? I haven't really asked in a while, but I really do want to know how you're doing. You can either message me, coach@40plusfitness.com. I respond to every email. I don't have a staff that runs around and takes care of me the way a lot of people do. I answer every email. If you get an email from me, it's me sending it. And of course, you can always join our Facebook group at 40plusfitness.com/group, or hey, just friend me directly. I'm open to communication, getting to know who you are, getting to know what I can do to best serve you on the podcast and otherwise. Go to 40plusfitness.com/Facebook. That'll take you directly to my Facebook profile. Hit me up with a friend request. Maybe send me a message to let me know you're not just some rando finding me and trying to take all my money, because, it happens. Anyway, looking forward to connecting with you, figuring out, learning from you. How are you doing? What's going on in your world? Well, let's go ahead and get into the real meat of this episode. Our guest today is the co-founder and CEO of Rebalance Health, a company redefining hormone and stress management through clinically backed, award-winning innovation. A serial entrepreneur with a background in product design, biotech, and wellness, he has launched multiple ventures including Alastin Skincare, acquired by Gilderama, GLO Pharmaceuticals, and now Rebalance Health. He holds degrees from RISD and Pepperdine and has earned recognition from Fast Company, CNBC, and NASA. Under his leadership, Rebalance has been named Glossy Beauty's Wellness Brand of the Year, won Best in Small Business for Innovative Product. With no further ado, here's Justin Hai. Justin, welcome to 40 Plus Fitness.
Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you for having me.
So the name of the book is Stress Nation: Escape the Technology Trap, Eliminate Stress, and Reclaim Rest. Every one of those things sings to my heart. In fact, as I was working on myself, it's kind of interesting because what I found was that for me, particularly, fitness was the easiest thing for me to fix first because it was just, okay, just move. And my body adapts and adjusts pretty good. I was an athlete when I was younger, so fitness comes pretty easy to me. Nutrition was a little harder, but I was able to do that. And then after I got those two things kind of in hand, then I focused on my sleep. And so I stopped setting alarms to wake up in the morning and just started making sure I go to bed early enough that no matter when I wake up, it's going to be early enough for what I got to do the next day. So
Right.
I'm that guy that goes to bed at 8:30.
I'm right there with you.
I love my sleep. And so then I was able to kind of get sleep in control, and I sleep very well now. Stress was like the last pin. It was the hardest for me because, working in the corporate world and everything there and just everything going on in the world and the technology and all of it, I was like, just always go, go, go. And I hated that part of it. And so my wife and I moved to a Caribbean island that doesn't get hurricanes.
Wow.
So, I now look at stress as probably just as important. It's just as important as the other items on that list, but probably the hardest one for us to tackle.
Yeah, extremely. Very difficult.
Now, I want to dive in a little bit because I think people know, okay, stress is we hear there's good stress and there's bad stress. And then, of course, with hormones, we hear there's good hormones and bad hormones. And I think cortisol kind of gets lumped in with the bad hormones because it's catabolic, so we don't want that. It's breaking down our muscle, and it's making us store fat in really the wrong places. And, it's putting us in this fight or flight mode, and we're staying in this fight or flight mode. And so we've kind of demonized cortisol. We don't want high cortisol, like ever. And that's, just like everything else, like insulin and some of the others that are demonized. It's like, this is a deeper story here. Could you share a little bit more about, okay, good stress, bad stress? Is cortisol really the bad hormone?
No, cortisol's not I'm cortisol's PR agency here, right? I want to do a whole campaign for cortisol. Cortisol's fabulous. It helps us with metabolism, immune response, sleep-wake cycles. It really does a lot. Blood sugar levels, it does a lot. The problem we have is we're simply making too much of it. That's the bottom line. We just make too much of it. We make too much cortisol, things start going a little haywire. The real easy connection is this. When cortisol is too high and stays high, it's very hard to fall asleep and it's very hard to stay asleep. You need 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep to get the ultimate, the perfect amount of regenerative sleep for your body. Why? You make your hormones in your sleep. So if you wake up in the night or you don't get the 7 to 8 hours of sleep you need, you're operating at a hormone deficit. Too many consecutive nights of hormone deficits and all the symptoms start showing up. And so cortisol is directly linked to your ability to get sleep. And there's a natural cycle, high in the morning, kind of peaks out around midday or so, comes down, and you want it as low as possible in the afternoon and the early evening as cortisol hands over to melatonin. Melatonin prepares you for sleep, and then when you go to bed, you are out like a light. That's the ideal methodology. That's how it should work. Cortisol is a very healthy, good hormone. In fact, almost every molecule in the human body has a cortisol receptor. So when cortisol is out of whack, you feel it completely systemically from head to toe. But this is what cortisol was designed to do. It is your body's alarm system. It's your emergency brake. It's what's designed to help you in really tough situations. Historically, you're running from a bear, a saber-toothed tiger, right? And when you're doing that, your cortisol's elevated to get you hyper alert, get you ready, and then adrenaline kicks in, and that's the action hormone, and you're off and you're running, right? You're doing what you need to do. Today's world, we can't tell the difference between an emergency situation and a calendar invite. Because until you pick up your technology or respond to it in some way or form, you have this elevated little, this panic, this association with this device, because until you know what it is, you don't know if it's good news or bad news. And a quick analogy I use is, when my kids were in high school or elementary school, even middle school, you'd get that phone call from school, you instantly panic. Is my kid okay? Right? My cortisol went from here through the roof because I'm already assuming worst case scenario. And the first thing they say is, nothing's wrong. Your kids are fine. I just want to let you know, right? And that is what you're adjusting to. And that's an example, but that happens literally at a microscopic level every single time we get an email ding, a notification, a number associated with an app that says you've got another email, another update you have to, something else that's constantly dragging you into this anxiety stress state. And if you're doing that all day, consistently, you don't stop, you don't get a break, you don't manage it, it's creeping into our downtime at night, it's creeping into our evening hours, and we're still operating at high levels of cortisol, and I can't go from here to here quick enough to fall asleep and stay asleep. So there's a natural circadian rhythm that we have to honor, and you can't change it. We're human beings. We cannot change this DNA, this genetic makeup that we have to be in alignment with the sun and the moon. And I'm not woo-woo, I'm not being cheesy. We were designed as human beings to recover at night when the sun goes down, the moon is up, and we're supposed to regenerate. Nothing changes that, right? And all this technology has done is interfered with it. It's a wonderful tool, and I love them, and I use them myself. But we were never taught how to use them as human beings in relationship with the natural circadian rhythm that the human body is required to use and utilize. We think we're invincible, and all of a sudden, over the past X amount of years, stress and work has become a badge of honor. I'm highly stressed. I'm operating on 4 hours of sleep because I'm so busy and so productive. That's not a badge of honor. In fact, that should be a red flag because you're probably not making very good decisions when you're sleep deprived.
Yeah, I remember just different times at work, like my boss would call. I don't know why bosses do this. Would you come to my office? There's no, everything's fine. There's just come to my office. You see their number pop up on your phone and you're like, oh crap. And you're right. Stress levels up to here. And you're like, okay, this is a coin flip. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? And they don't tell you on that phone. They just, can you come up to my office? So now you get that elevator ride or the stairs to their floor to go have this conversation. And you're walking in there, and then it is what it is. It's either good news or it's bad news. But so I started actually just making sure I used the stairs. And I was either that or if I got into the elevator, because I needed to be there a little quicker, whatever reason I wanted to be up there, got in the elevator, I just start doing box breathing. It was like just trying to calm myself down to say, okay, the world is not over yet. Yet.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the same thing. And, we're guilty of doing it with our kids. We do it deliberately. We want them a little on edge. They've done something. I need to speak to you now. It's just built in because we're a little evil, I guess, or a little naughty, and we want to poke the bear.
But now it's everything though. It's
everything's doing it.
Like you get on social media and it's like, okay, somebody's going to say something to just get under your skin and fire you up. And then now you've let that happen. And as you said, if it happens multiple times per day. So like I will go out and check what's going on social media. Like I'll do my social media in the morning and, my cortisol is already high. So I'll go in there and I'll just, okay, get all this stuff done. And then I shut it all off for the day. I'm like, I'm not on social media during the day. I just go ahead and shut all of it down. So there's no dings, there's no pings from social media. I still get the email stuff, but for the most part, I ignore the dings now. I've gotten really good at that. But it's a practice skill to not just let yourself go, woo, just stay up there.
Yeah, people get sucked into social media, right? You get literally that doom scrolling, right? And that's part of it. And then you can get wound up by what people are saying and what people are doing. And people reflect, well, why isn't that happening to me? Or why doesn't my wife or my husband or my partner do this the way this person has done? And people compare and contrast, thinking the grass is always greener on the other side. And people forget that social media is completely, in my opinion, fake. Because people are only sharing, the majority of people only share what they want to share, what they want you to see, not necessarily what really is happening deep down.
Yeah, that's an absolute truth. Being in the fitness environment, I can, yeah, absolutely. Now, you talked about sleep. I want to dive a little bit deeper into that because I don't want to gloss over it, because I think, yes, a lot of people do struggle with sleep. Sleep, it's funny because I've been in this environment for a while and talking to different people and reading a lot on sleep. And some people, there was a period of my life where I didn't sleep. I'd sleep like 3-4 hours a night and I felt fine. I didn't know how much damage I was doing to myself. But there's a lot that happens in the human body for that rest and recovery. It's not just your body's physically resting. There's a lot going on with your brain. There's a lot going on with your hormones. Can you walk us through a few of those things and why sleep is so important?
Well, it's really just recharging. I don't really want to dive too deep into the science of everything, but just kind of keep it at a elementary level. This is a great way to kind of describe what happened when we were younger versus what happened now when we're 40 plus, right? So when we were younger, we had a lot of HGH, human growth hormone, in our body. We have a lot of testosterone. We had a lot of estrogen and progesterone. Yes, men have it too. So, men and women are much more similar than we kind of acknowledge in kind of the world today in the media, right? So men and women both have estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, HGH, and so forth. You using all that HGH, it's at high levels, and testosterone's at high levels as we go through puberty. That's the whole idea, right? We're growing. We're becoming into adults, into adult form. And when we're in our 20s, we are invincible. I used to do the most craziest, silliest things as a teenager and in my 20s that I shouldn't be alive today because I was so foolish in what I was doing. But I could wake up the next day like nothing happened and do it all over again. Whether I'm surfing, skiing, running, whatever exercises I was doing, or being foolish with, I had an injury or I pulled a muscle, I'd bounce back much faster. Why? Because we had high levels of those hormones in our bodies as we were transitioning out of puberty and into adulthood, right? We just had a lot of those hormones. As you get into your late 20s, early 30s, things start to slowly slow down. And by the time you enter your late 30s and early 40s, you're like, wow, I can't do the same things I used to do. Okay. And that's because naturally, as we are aging, our hormone production has come down dramatically, especially HGH, especially testosterone in both men and women. That combination of HGH and testosterone is magic. It's the fountain of youth right there. Okay. So we were making it up here in our 20s. It's now way down here, right? As we're in our 40s, much, much, much lower. Now, when you compound that with stress, cortisol, and sleep, if you're only making a tiny amount, 10% of what you were used to making, right? And you don't get sleep, that 10% that you produce could be as low as 4 or 5%. So 50% less than what you needed to make. And that's why the following day, you're struggling. You're struggling. And that goes for mental clarity, brain fog, anxiety. It all is part of that equation. And so that is how severe sleep impacts us as we age. Because what little HGH, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone that we are making becomes substantially less by the quality of our sleep. And that's why everyone's waking up in their 40s and 50s and go, what is happening with me? I'm sore, I'm stiff, I'm not as sharp, I can't jump up and get going like I used to. It's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's because we're simply aging and you can't fight it. Now, you say, but people are taking HRT. They're taking testosterone, they're taking estrogen, progesterone, tons of different peptides out there, and that should help. Yeah, to a certain degree, but none of it, not one, addresses cortisol. And so stress is the number one factor. So sure, you could have high levels of testosterone, you could have balanced estrogen, progesterone as you start to enter perimenopause. You could have all that stuff dialed in, but if you don't sleep, it's not going to make a damn bit of difference. You're still going to feel exhausted, sore, tired, and a little dazed and confused with high levels of anxiety. Sleep is the number one component of our life that we should protect maniacally.
I agree. And that's one of the reasons with the hormones and basically what's going on in your brain, I think are the two core reasons that someone could understand and why you can't catch up on your sleep. It's not like you can just sleep more on Saturday and Sunday and call it good. Yes, you may be a little more rested because of that, but from an overall health perspective, you're not improving yourself as much.
Correct. And you can get into, synapses pruning and all the brain and all that stuff, but let's keep it at a very simple comprehension level so that people understand that it's a very simple cause and effect equation. If your stress is high, your cortisol is high, you can't fall asleep, you can't stay asleep, you're going to feel pretty bad the next day. If you eat really late at night, if you have lots to drink, if you have alcohol, the older you get, the harder it is to get a good quality night's sleep. It's just this kind of entitlement that we have kind of built into our psyche that we deserve that cheat meal. We deserve that glass of wine at night. I've worked hard for it, etc. Yeah, you have, and it's your prerogative to do it. But understand there is going to be some give and take and a consequence associated with it. Most people think that I need that glass of wine to help me fall asleep, thinking that it's a sedative. Well, it's actually a stimulant because 2 hours later it converts to sugar. And guess what? You probably, if you're honest with yourself, you'll say, you know what? I wake up every night around about 1 a.m. Yeah, because you had the wine, it converted to sugar. It's now waking you up and now you're awake. And it wasn't because the wine helped you get to sleep.
Yeah. Now, I can hear my phone in the background dinging. It's in another room. I try not to grab it if I don't have to in the morning. So it usually just sits on my nightstand most of the day. But let's talk about smartphones. The best device ever provided to man, the worst device ever provided to man.
Both, right? Both. It's 100% both.
What's going on? Why have they become such a problem?
Because they're no longer just a communication device, which is what the telephone used to be. In the 70s and 80s, I used to hide under the stairs with a corded phone, talking to my friends, having fun. I'd get 10, 15 minutes of call time, and that was it. The rest of the time, I'd be out playing, socializing, doing the things that we used to do. We've all seen the 80 montages you see on social media, right? That's true. Absolutely true. Yeah. And we used to drive up and down the high street at slow speeds for the hell of it, because that's what we used to do with our friends for fun.
For us, it was Delaware. Yeah, for us, it was Delaware Avenue. And, we'd have a long cord. It was really long, but it would get all wired up. You'd be who tangled this thing? And then you'd be walking, trying to walk around with it. Then later on, they had the little antennas in the radio station thing. And as long as you were within like 40 feet, you could take the call in your house.
Yep.
But so initially, I guess when the smartphones came out, you could listen to your music, you could talk on the phone, and that was practical. There was one other thing you said, I remember you saying they used them for, but that was practically it until we started getting into the apps.
Well, as soon as we got basically email, then the internet, and then social media, or however you want to start the process off, right? I mean, we've gone through multiple iterations of social media. The problem is that, there's so much information out there that we're now spoiled for information, content, and entertainment. And we are constantly communicating back and forth. I mean, we used to have the Nextel radios. Remember the Nextel handheld? Where primarily in the building industry, and you could talk to anyone through the Nextel radio. And I think that everyone was excited about that because that was like you didn't have to pay for wireless, etc., and didn't take up your minutes. And then as soon as the iPhone came out, it was absolutely revolutionary because now you had everything at your fingertips. Even Netflix has transformed the space because we used to go to the movies. I think I saw something or read something that the movie release in the summer of 85 was insane. All the classic movies that you ever watched, I think it was like 20 or 30 movies that came out that summer. And that's where you'd go to watch it, right? You didn't stay at home and you didn't binge watch episode after episode after episode, season after season after season, and sit there like a vegetable. Right? We had certain amount of screen time. And what's happened is we've become addicted to our devices because the companies have gamified them. They're smart. They know how to monetize their apps and how to monetize these different platforms. And we've become addicted to them. Whether it's gaming or whether it's social media, whether it's video or content, you can look up anything in the world from the comfort of your phone anywhere in the world. And when you think about, well, there's tools to kind of support you with that. It's called screen time. I don't think any adult on this planet has used screen time other than to protect their kids from abusing screen time. And parents use it for their kids. But guess what? We should be using it for ourselves because we are addicted. But then we say, hey, it's for work, it's important, and we justify it like we justify everything else. But it's got the consequence of disrupting our sleep and messing with our health. And so it is a wonderful tool. I'm not bashing it. We just weren't taught how to use it as human beings, and it's gotten away from us.
Yeah. So it's a function of rationing and a function of just knowing when there's certain things that you just shouldn't even be on your phone. You know, probably some games that you spend my sister plays this one game. I don't know what it is. I know the sounds play for hours. I told her one time, I said, does this thing have different levels? And she said, yeah. And I'm like, somewhere in a conference room, someone's sitting there saying she's playing again. They've got to come up with a new level today because she's used up all the levels. She's on this thing almost all of her off time. And I think in her head, she thinks she's turning off.
Yeah, she's zoning out. She's just kind of getting numb just using it. And I hear that quite a bit as well, right? It's relaxing. It's helping me. But it's actually rewiring you. It's actually rewiring you to have anxiety around it without you realizing it.
Yeah, because there's the cortisol and the dopamine and
it's not even good dopamine because there's no real gratifying end to it, right? It's just, okay, I need another fix. There's no kind of substance to the dopamine.
Yeah. Meaningless wins.
Absolutely meaningless wins. And I remember, I don't know the platform very well, but I remember being a little horrified when my son was younger and he was playing Minecraft, and we thought it was a great game because it was creative and he was building stuff. But as he got older, he explained to me that if he didn't go back and keep playing the game, there were these zombies or something that would start taking apart or destroying the world that he was building. And so that was inherently putting stress, anxiety, and cortisol into him because he knew if he didn't get back on, he could be losing the gains that he got. That's the type of stuff that isn't very good. Yeah. And yet we're promoting it, right? And justifying that it's good. But what it's actually doing to us as humans and to our children is pretty bad. It's kind of rewiring us to constantly be anxious and have high levels of cortisol and disrupts the sleep. And then the kids start waking up and they're figuring out how they can play with it. And it's the first thing they check. And I struggle with it with my kids. It's like, guys, you got to put that down. I don't want to be the bad guy and literally put restrictions on it. And then it goes, well, I've got to use it for school. And, it's just, we're in this world. And so it's just being mindful more than anything that you can't beat it. But if you're knowledgeable about the cause and the effect, you should be able to start put parameters around it that are logical for you in your life. I'm not here to tell someone how to live their life. I'm just saying this is what's happening. And if you're aware of it, which I think the majority of people aren't aware of it, then you can make adjustments that work for you.
Yeah, I think that's the key is awareness has to come first. And then from there, you make the adjustments that you feel you need to make. And again, just some of it is bizarre to me, but probably just because I didn't play it once and didn't get hooked, I never got into it. But I definitely... I'm
not a gamer myself, so I don't get it either. Yeah, I'm right with you.
I mean, I like certain games, get me a football game and I'll play forever on a football game because I just love the strategy around American football and then just the play. But yeah, get me the things like the Farmerville and those types of things where you're growing a crop, and I'm like, okay, what's the point? If I wanted to grow a crop, I'd be outside digging in the dirt, because I'd want to have real food when I was done and not just virtual points on a scoreboard. But they get you on there. Their time on platform is their goal. And if they get you hooked, they want to keep you on there because they can show you more ads and they make more money. And so they've got the experts there that know how to play your brain and how to keep you engaged and keep you involved. And if you let them, then they control you. Not yet.
Absolutely.
Justin, I define wellness as being the healthiest, fittest, and happiest you can be. What are 3 strategies or tactics to get and stay well?
Sleep, exercise, and diet.
Bang.
It's not, I think I say it in the book. This isn't rocket science. And I don't mean to discredit anyone because it's not my intention. We have been sold a bag of goods that it's complicated. And it's really not. And you can put up whatever obstacles you like. Exercise. Yes. Get your heart rate up and lift weights. It's wonderful. You need it. The older you get, you need to focus on weightlifting. Why? Because it helps with your muscles. It helps with flexibility, strength, and bone health, right? Osteoporosis is a big thing. You can solve that by strengthening your bones by lifting weights. You don't have to be Arnold. That's not what I'm saying. You just got to lift some resistance training, right? That's the exercise. And walk. Walk, walk, walk. Walking is so much better than anything else you can possibly do. Get out there and move your legs and get out into the real world. That's it. Nutrition, eat healthy, farm to table, organic, the best that you can. And guess what? Eat less calories than you burn. I know, it's rocket science. Do that,
thermodynamic.
You won't gain weight. It's that straightforward. It's that simple. It really is that simple. The problem is we're creatures of comfort, convenience, and ego, right? And so I know that I should have the protein with vegetables and salad versus having the hamburger and french fries. But guess what? I've earned that. I worked out. I deserve that. I'm going to have the hamburger and french fries. You know you shouldn't, right? So I want to simplify it because the rest of it is noise, right? How many diets and fads have come out in the past 50 years, from the South Beach to the keto to the paleo? There's nothing wrong with any of them. You've got to find the one that works for you. And the best one is the one you're going to stick to. That's as simple as it gets. But the fundamental basic bottom line is when you find foods that work for you and that your body likes, because not all foods your body will like, you simply have to consume less than you probably think you are. And I'm a big, big believer in tracking your calories for a week. I'm not saying doing it forever. Do it for a week. Understand how many calories are in olive oil. All of a sudden, I was gaining weight. I couldn't understand why. My wife was just pouring olive oil in on the chicken on the stove. And, I was consuming 1,000 calories of olive oil a day, right? You actually do have to be mindful of the calories that you put into your body. And then, of course, sleep. Be maniacal and set yourself up with good sleep hygiene to get sleep. And, of course, shamefully, Rebalance Health.
Yeah.
I think that's a great supporting product.
So let's talk just a little bit about what your product does.
Absolutely. So we started in this looking at hormones, peptides, and how we can support the body. And I latched onto cortisol as a real untapped hormone that we don't truly understand back in 2020. What we did is we took all the top ingredients from Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine and figured out what would be a good formulation, and wrapped it in a Western delivery of a lozenge. It's like a little lozenge. And you simply suck on it. And what that does is help keep your body calm. So whilst you're still using technology, email, and the boss is calling, come up to my office, right? You can use other techniques to support you. Yes, box breathing, etc., fabulous things. But you also can use supplementation to support keeping your cortisol at bay. And that's what Rebalance does. It helps keep cortisol at bay, keep it in the natural cycle that it needs to be in, so that by the time you're ready for bed, your cortisol is at the right levels so that you can fall asleep and stay asleep. Because technology isn't going anywhere, but we do need to learn to manage it. And Rebalance is the only supplement on the market which has got 3 IRB clinical peer-reviewed studies behind it. So we didn't just say we've got great ingredients, right? Which of course we do, but we actually tested the final product at a high-level IRB clinical study, peer-reviewed, and then published in medical journals. And so that's a real big differentiator. And out of the studies, we've had some absolute mind-blowing results from, 94% reduction in hot flashes. We're talking 78% improvement in mood, disposition, reductions in anxiety, improvement in libido, and weight loss, just to name some. And it's all simply because we help support keep cortisol low when it needs to be and help you stay asleep when you need to be, so that your body can naturally do all the rest. Your body knows what's to do. The problem is technology and the way that we live and run our lives has kind of gotten out of control in the past 30 years. I'm not talking forever. I'm talking about since the invention and rapid development of technology that has disrupted our natural circadian rhythm.
Yeah, I would say since the invention of the light bulb, but that's just me. When it got dark at night, you would just naturally go to sleep. There was no sitting up and doing stuff, because you'd be doing it in the dark if you did. Justin, thank you. If someone wanted to learn more about you, learn more about your company and your book, Stress Nation, where would you like for me to send them?
Everyone can go to rebalancehealth.com. And there's pages there for Stress Nation, as well as the lozenges and the products and the studies and all the efficacy that we can support and back up. So everything is at one convenient place, rebalancehealth.com.
Thank you, Justin. And thank you for being a part of 40 Plus Fitness.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
If you enjoyed today's show, take a moment to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you would, please leave us a rating and review on your podcast player of choice. Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we meet Dr. John Risson and discuss his book, Pain-Free Performance: Move Better, Train Smarter, and Build an Unbreakable Body. Until then, have a happy and healthy week.